I'm 73 years old, and I'm about to share something that might be difficult to hear. Almost everything you believe about growing older is completely wrong. And the hardest part is this: the people who should have told you the truth, your parents, your teachers, society at large, they were either mistaken themselves or simply chose not to say it. I spent the first 50 years of my life holding on to the same false beliefs you're probably carrying right now. I, Joan, thought I had everything figured out. I had the career, the house, the admiration of the people around me. But at 52, something happened that broke apart everything I believed to be true. And what I uncovered in the 21 years that followed completely transformed how I think about life, death, and all the space in between. But before I get into what that was, I need you to understand one thing. The reason I'm sharing this isn't to appear wise or to make an impression on anyone. I'm sharing it because time is running short, and there are things you genuinely need to hear before it's too late. Not for my sake, for yours. At 52, I experienced what doctors refer to as a cardiac event. That's a clinical way of saying my heart nearly gave out on me. I was sitting in a meeting, talking through quarterly projections, when the room suddenly began to spin. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed with tubes running out of my arms and my wife in tears in the corner of the room. The doctor told me I was lucky. Lucky. I had just come face to face with my own mortality, and they were calling it luck. But honestly, they weren't wrong. Because lying in that hospital bed with nothing but time to think, I came to a terrifying realization. I had been living my entire life on autopilot. I wasn't truly living. I was going through the motions, ticking boxes, doing my best to meet other people's expectations. And here's the part that still haunts me today. If I had died that day, if my heart had stopped for good, what would I have left behind? A nice house, a retirement account, a list of accomplishments that no one would remember within 5 years. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. I have time. I'll get to that later. When I'm older, I'll finally start living the way I want. I see people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, and they're all saying the same thing. When I earn more money, then I'll be happy. When I get that promotion, then I'll slow down. When the kids are older, then I'll travel. When I retire, then I'll finally do what I love. Let me spare you 50 years of regret with a single truth. That day never comes. Do you know why? Because the finish line keeps moving. You get the promotion, and suddenly you need the next one. You earn more money, and suddenly more money isn't enough. You're always chasing something just beyond your reach. And before you've noticed, you're 70 years old, wondering where your life disappeared to. I lived this. I spent 30 years climbing a ladder, only to realize when I finally reached the top that it was leaning against the wrong wall. And you can't climb back down and begin again. Time simply doesn't work that way. Here's something no one tells you when you're young. Success is a poor life goal. And I say that as someone who achieved every single thing I set out to achieve. I reached the top of my profession. I bought the house. I earned the respect of my colleagues. And you know what? None of it felt the way I expected. You accomplish your goal, and for maybe 48 hours you feel extraordinary. Then the feeling fades. You return to where you started emotionally. And now you need a new goal, a bigger achievement, more acknowledgement. It's a wheel that never stops turning. I had a close friend who passed away 3 years ago at 68. He worked 70-hour weeks his entire adult life. He built a business worth millions. He never once took a real vacation. He kept saying he'd slow down next year. Next year arrived, and he had a stroke. At his funeral, his son stood up and said, "My father was a successful man, but I barely knew him." Is that the legacy you want? Your regrets won't be about the mistakes you made. They'll be about the things you never did at all. I don't lie awake at night thinking about business decisions that went sideways. Those don't matter anymore. What keeps me awake is the trip to Japan I never took because I was too occupied. The relationship with my brother that I allowed to fall apart. The book I always wanted to write, but never once started. The time I didn't give my children because I stayed late at work. These are the things that linger. The missed moments, the roads not taken, the love that went unexpressed, the chances you didn't take because fear held you back, the people you love, your parents, your siblings, your closest friends. You believe you have unlimited time with them. You don't. And one day, that time will simply be gone. My father died when I was 45. We had a complicated relationship, and I was always too caught up in my own life to really work on it. I kept telling myself we'd have that real conversation when things quieted down. We never got the chance. Heart attack, gone within hours. And my deepest regret? All the Sundays I didn't pick up the phone. All the times I was too tired to drive over for dinner. All the small moments I let pass by without a second thought. There won't always be another chance. After my heart attack, I made real changes. I stepped back from work. I started saying no to things that didn't truly matter. I started saying yes to things I had postponed for decades. In these past 21 years, I've learned more about what life actually means than I did in the 52 years before them. What truly matters is almost embarrassingly straightforward. Time with the people you love, work that feels meaningful to you, experiencing things rather than accumulating things, creating memories, being present. I know that sounds simple. When I was your age, I would have rolled my eyes at it too. Sure, but I have bills to pay. And yes, you do. I'm not telling you to quit your job. I'm telling you not to sacrifice what matters for what doesn't. Here's a question I want you to sit with honestly. If you died tomorrow, would you feel at peace with the life you've lived so far? Not whether people would be impressed at your funeral, not whether you'd achieved enough. Just, would you feel satisfied? If the answer is no, then what exactly are you waiting for? What are you spending your time on that is worth gambling your one precious life away for? I'm 73 years old. I've been fortunate to have good health since that heart attack. But every morning when I open my eyes, I'm aware that I'm living on borrowed time. We all are, really. But most people who are young don't feel that yet. They believe they're untouchable. They believe they have forever. You don't. I have 3 grandchildren. When I look at them, I see the same patterns I recognize in so many young people today. Stressed, anxious, chasing things that won't bring them what they're hoping for, making the same errors I made. And I try to tell them, I try to pass on what I've learned, but they don't really absorb it. Not because they're not good people, but because they can't. They're right in the middle of the storm. They can't see the bigger picture yet. They believe their circumstances are different, that the lessons of those who came before them don't apply to their situation. That's why I'm sharing this, because maybe, just maybe, if enough people hear this, someone will actually let it in. Someone will make different decisions. Someone will be spared the regrets that quietly follow people like me every single day. You are getting closer to the end. Nobody wants to sit with that thought. But you don't have unlimited time. Neither do the people you love. Your parents, if they're still here, are aging every single day. One day, probably sooner than you expect, they won't be. Your friends, your partner, your children, none of these relationships last forever. So what are you going to do? Keep putting off that phone call. Keep delaying that trip. Keep telling yourself you'll make room for it later. Or are you going to wake up today and begin living as if your time is limited? Because it is. If I could go back and sit across from my 30-year-old self, here is what I would say. Stop trying to earn approval from people who don't matter. Stop trading your health for your career. Stop deferring joy until some imaginary future day. Stop waiting for permission to live the life you actually want. Start calling the people you love more often. Start taking the trips you've been dreaming about. Start doing the things that frighten you a little. Start saying no to commitments that deplete you. Start saying yes to experiences that fill you up. And above all, start now. Not next year. Not after this project wraps up. Not when you have more money or more time or more of whatever you think you're missing. Now. because the perfect moment will never arrive. Life will always be tangled and complicated and full of reasons to wait. But if you keep waiting, you'll open your eyes one morning and understand that you waited your entire life away. I'm 73. If I'm fortunate, perhaps 10 or 15 more years. Maybe 20 if I'm very lucky. Probably less. And I've made peace with that, because these last 21 years have been the most meaningful of my life. Not because of money. Because I finally began living with intention, appreciating each day as it comes, putting first things first. I've visited places I always told myself I'd get to one day. I've grown closer to my children and grandchildren. I've picked up hobbies I had shelved for decades. I've let go of old resentments. I've said I love you more times than I can count. I am happier now at 73, with less time ahead of me, than I was at 30, when I believed I had all the time in the world. That's the real irony. When you truly grasp that time is finite, you finally begin to live it. You stop squandering it. You stop deferring happiness. You start making the time right, instead of waiting for the right time. You have a choice right now, today. You can keep living the way you have been, chasing success, postponing happiness, telling yourself later will be the right moment. Or you can wake up. You can recognize that time is slipping away faster than you realize, and the life you've been waiting to live has to begin now. I can't make that choice for you, but I can tell you with absolute certainty, you do not want to be 73, looking back and wishing you had chosen differently. Don't spend 52 years arriving at what I now know. Learn from where I went wrong. Live with intention. Keep what matters at the front. Stop waiting for someday. Someday is today. It always has been. If this reaches you in some way, leave a comment and tell me what you're going to do differently starting now. Subscribe, because I have more of these truths left to share, and I don't have unlimited time to share them. The clock is moving. What are you going to do with yours?